Hello, fellow human light beings. It is my honor and privilege and distinct pleasure to be here with you today. This is a solar flash update for February 1st, 2024. This is when everything is going to start changing. Awakened humans are now beginning to create 5D Earth, and we're going to be talking today about exactly how we will be doing that. And we're going to be explaining about how the old rules of 3D are gone, and I'm going to be encouraging you to create absolutely anything you can possibly imagine. Hello and welcome back to the channel. As I already said, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. You have to forgive me, I'm quite tired today, in a good way. I went to the gym and was working out really hard yesterday, and my body is needing to rest. So that's a good thing. And today I wanted to share with you my understanding of what I believe is coming as a result of what I've been experiencing. I mentioned it, I think, a little bit previously, but the level of solar energy that has now hit the earth has gotten to a saturation point, and now it's beginning to spill out into the atmosphere, and you're going to begin to see a lot of things popping and shifting within human beings. So for myself, I had a huge awakening about a week ago, and it was very painful, having to do with my resistance symptoms. Everybody's got different ascension symptoms. They're really just resistance symptoms. Whatever we call ascension symptoms is this higher frequency of energy is hitting physically your physical body, and your physical body is changing, and in order for that to happen, your personality has to change. So we have to move beyond who we've been, our avatar, who we've been up until this point. And so the energy gets to a certain point where we have to shift. We have to. We don't have any choice anymore. I mean, you can still try and resist it if you want, but it's just going to make you more and more miserable. So for me, my resistance symptoms are I'm impatient. I have been. I was impatient. I lacked tolerance, and I was judgmental. And that was actually coming from a lot of self-devaluation programming within me. And I became aware on a deeper level that I actually was afraid that I was a horrible person. And this was something that had been programmed into me by my family. Everybody has this on some level. So all of those things that I've been my whole life, that armor that I've carried, as we all do, for me it's that tough guy armor. That came crashing down, and I became aware of how painful it is not to be who I truly am, which is I'm a much nicer, tolerant, caring, nurturing person, and I haven't allowed myself to do that because as a little kid, if I did that, I got beat harder. And where I grew up, I got bullied a lot as a little kid where I grew up, just from the people around. So I learned to be very, I learned how to scare people away, and I learned how to be, became a good fighter, and I can out-talk people, and so I became somebody you didn't want to mess with. Anyway, a lot of that came crashing down, and I made the decision that I'm going to choose to be happier. So this is a conscious choice. And as I look back on it, I really believe it's a result of the energy building up in my body to such a degree that something had to go. So this is the potential danger of this shift that's happening. It's happening whether we like it or not. But what's happening to people who are continuing to fight the shift, which means they're holding on to their self-defense mechanisms. Mine is, want to be tough guy. Yours might be you get depressed. Yours might be that you are a people pleaser. Yours might be that you want to go into a state where you're not having any feelings. Maybe you want to dive into addictions, fantasies. Who knows what it is? You have your own way of dealing with it. If somebody chooses to dig their heels in and go hold on to those defense mechanisms, the problem is that then you can start seeing a lot of mental breaks and a lot of physical illnesses. So one of the things I think is going to happen is that it's going to be a lot harder for people to avoid creating illness within themselves. Because illness, in my experience, this is based on my experience and my observation in life, not only in myself but in other people. All illness is really just internal conflict. And it's the conflict between your soul and your human personality. The human personality wants to help you find ways to throw yourself away so you can be accepted and loved. And your soul says, I want to be authentic and I want to live my deepest joy. And if you fight that, what ends up happening is that the body starts to react in all kinds of ways. And the specific illness will show some of what the real conflict is. And anyway, I'm not an expert in that, and I'm not going to spend time getting into that. But my point is that the energy that's hitting the earth, and now it's coming from the earth herself. It's no longer just hitting the earth. It's not just the solar radiation that's hitting us, that's affecting us. It's now coming from out from the earth herself. So if you've noticed that even when there's not a lot of solar activity, you still find yourself coming out of your skin. Maybe you can't sleep. Maybe you're having dreams. Maybe you are doing the interdimensional meditations, and your experiences are really getting crazy and intense. These are all, I think, symptoms of the shift that's taking hold. So as I see it, the first thing that is going to happen is, sorry, I got distracted. I looked at the comments. I should never do that. One of the things that's going to happen first is that the so-called starseeds are going to begin to really start blossoming. So, I make fun of that term starseed because unfortunately a lot of people, and I think probably the people who invented that term, it's actually a sign of untreated self-devaluation. Because when you talk to somebody who claims to be a starseed, at least in the New Age community, they will say half-truths. The truth is that they are very advanced souls who have chosen to incarnate at this point in time to help the rest of humanity evolve. And as a result, they are very sensitive and they have a lot of spiritual gifts. That part is true. But then they conflate other things, which is really part of their resistance, when they start to say that they are different than others, that there are normal human beings and then there are starseeds. And the normal human beings, those people don't have the level of spirituality or sensitivity, or they don't, and so they make this distinction where they make themselves superior. So unfortunately that cancels out, whatever awakening you might have, because that's your ego, the need to compete with other people, compare yourself to others, to really what it is people are in a lot of pain because they've been traumatized either by family or life, and so that's a defense mechanism to make yourself feel superior, to find ways to be better than, to distance yourself from them. And it's really, ironically, self-devaluation. You hate yourself, you don't like yourself, so you fight against that by narcissistically, creating yourself superior to others. So the truth of the matter is that every single human being is a starseed, or you wouldn't have incarnated on Earth. You might not be to the level of awareness of what's going on as somebody else. So, but that's a whole other subject. So I do believe that starseeds are going to start awakening first. And by a starseed, I'm just talking about somebody who becomes awakened to their non-human origins. And every single human being that's on this planet is among the most powerful conscious beings in the universe. And you have been allowed to come here. You haven't been forced to come here. You've been allowed to come here because the rest of the conscious beings in the universe, which include many of the extraterrestrial light beings who are coming to Earth to help this shift, most of the beings out there don't qualify to come here. They don't have the strength. This is a very, very challenging school for the spirit, because you forget who you are and because the frequency is so low and there is this negativity that is incredibly difficult for the soul to live through, as you well know. So only those who have the ability and who have been given the opportunity choose to come here. However, as you know, some people are more aware and more awake than others. So those that are more awakened to this are going to begin to consciously seek to change themselves. They will consciously seek to raise their frequency. Those that haven't gotten to that place yet, it's going to be more challenging for them. It's going to even get more challenging until at some point something's going to break. Exactly what's going to happen at that point, I don't know. So what does this have to do with what we're talking about? I want you to have the correct assumptions before we start talking about creating the new 5D world. So we are creating it. So I like this picture. It's an AI. I'm really enjoying this new AI image generator I found online. And so here we've got a gentleman who is using his third eye, and he's intending into the universe his perfect 5D world. And so I don't want you to look at the new Earth as something that's going to happen outside of you, that we will shift and go to this place that's been created or is some other way. And I don't want you to look at it that way. This isn't how it's been described to me. And if you want to see yourself as somebody who's a creator of this new Earth, by all means, feel free to do that. If you want to believe that other people aren't, I don't care. But what's been told to me by higher dimensional beings, whenever I've asked questions about what is this new Earth, tell me about the 5D Earth, what is this all about? And they start asking me, they say, I don't know, what do you want it to be? And I'm like, wait, you're not going to tell me? And they're like, I'm not creating it, you're creating it. This is your creation. So we're going to take a look at, I think, some ways that you can actively begin creating this 5D Earth. Before we get into that, I just want to finish the introduction I'm trying to verbalize here, which is when I had that awareness and I was able to let go of another layer of my armor, and I was able to let go of my own unconscious fear about myself. which was ironically creating the very thing that I was most afraid of. Everything started shifting around me, and I became aware that where I live, which is, as you know, I've worked really hard to create the specific place that I live in absolute paradise. I literally cannot imagine anything better than where I live. There isn't any other place on the planet I would choose to live. This is it. So if you're living somewhere and you don't like where you live, you can live wherever the heck you want. And that's just on this 3D Earth. But what if we want to go beyond that? So what I started to realize was, what I started experiencing was that when I let go of more of those self-devaluing, self-protection mechanisms, I started awakening to how amazing this place is that I live. And I started seeing more colors. I started experiencing more energy coming from the plants. I started, the earth there was like this veil was lifted from my eyes, and I was able to see more and more that I am living in the 5D paradise I want to live. And so I do believe that when people begin to awaken, one of the experiences they're going to have is they're going to see just their immediate surroundings is going to begin to look different. Your relationships will look different. People will look different. Everything, you might be in the exact same world, but somehow it's just a brighter, better, more beautiful, amazing place, which means, again, 5D isn't a place, it's a frequency. You can be in the exact same place you are now, but if the frequency changes, everything changes. I'm looking out the window now, and it's like, did a bunch more trees, grow over the past week? Everywhere I go, there's rainbows. It's crazy, because that's part of my, as you can see, my new logo here. By the way, that's how AI thinks I look. I'm really enjoying rainbows. When I go to my 5D world and I'm creating my 5D world, there's rainbow sparkles everywhere. Everything just has this rainbow aura and sparkly, and so I've been seeing that. I come home from the gym yesterday, and there's this big rainbow over my house. I was out surfing the other day, and there's just right above me, there was this little cloud that was just enough moisture in it, and the sun hit it just right that the cloud itself became this rainbow. It wasn't like the whole rainbow, but the cloud itself started having all the colors of the rainbow. And it was just like right over my head. And I talked to the guy next to me. I said, "Do you see that?" And he says, "Yeah." And he says, "Have you ever seen anything like that before?" I said, "I've never seen anything like that before." So this is my experience. My experience is that as the energy is shifting within me, my surroundings are changing into my 5D fantasy. So let's get into that. First off, if you're new to the channel, I need you to like, subscribe, comment. I need you to go to the free playlists page on the Thunder Wizard channel, won't cost you anything, and click on these 3 playlists: the Maoshan Qigong, the Interdimensional Meditation, and the 12 Steps to 5D. Those 3 playlists, they're free, doesn't cost you anything, the most powerful energy practices you'll ever come across, paid or free. You'll never find anything like it anywhere. I've spent the last 30 years synthesizing the most powerful spiritual practices in the history of mankind. In fact, I challenge you to find anything that comes even close to it, and you can enjoy it for free. So go there and do at least one thing from one of those playlists every day. If you can do one thing from each of them every day, so much the better. And then, while you're doing that, I want you to go to thunderwizard.com, the website, and subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. You get instruction from me on video And you simply press play and follow the video. Just follow what I do. Just do exactly what I do. It's the easiest thing. There's a morning, afternoon, and evening practice. There are multiple levels of it. And I guarantee you, if you do it consistently every day, I promise you things will begin to shift in a big way. All right, so how do we create the new 5D Earth? So there's only one law that we need to understand. Is that in 5D, only higher frequencies exist. What does that mean? So when I talk about this, every now and then somebody will show up on the channel who is probably new to the channel. And they'll make a comment like, yeah, but we have to protect ourselves. If we don't have any law, because the world I'm creating, there's no government, there's no banks, there's no money, there's no laws, there's no, if you don't already have within you the laws that are necessary to, don't steal, don't harm anybody else, if you don't already know that, then you're not going to make it to 5D. It's just, you just won't make it. Here in 3D, you can be really self-destructive and hurtful to others, and you can still exist here. But in 5D, only higher frequencies exist. So that's the only law. The law is there, that everything functions from this higher frequency. And higher frequencies means love, means tolerance, patience, it means empathy, all the things that we have to worry about guarding here. You can't just, there are people who have, I forget what it's called, some kind of syndrome. They have it's technically a mental illness, but they were born with some kind of some things in their brain, and it makes them happy and friendly, and they don't have any filters, and they're just full of love all the time. And so as little kids, it becomes a problem because they run up to everybody and hug them, and everybody is their best friend, and it becomes challenging for them later in life because they have to live in a world that they don't understand, which is, how is it everybody doesn't love everybody like I do? So, and it's in the third dimension. It's a mental illness. It's some kind of, form of retardation. That's how screwed up the third dimension is. But that's the law there, is that it'll be impossible for people to think in a negative way in terms of other beings. You won't have selfishness. You won't have anger. You won't have fear. Those things won't exist there. If you have that, you won't make it. The good news is that this shift, if you're open to it, will get rid of all that. That's my experience. You're going to have to face the stuff. It might be painful. It might be challenging. But you're going to get rid of it. So the one law is that only higher frequencies exist there. So when you go to create your 5D world, don't hold back. Don't create anything that has to do with fear or survival or any of those lower frequency nonsensical things. There are no rules. This is what's great about it. We only have rules here because people are assholes. We have to create rules because if we didn't, people would take advantage of each other and hurt each other. So that's the whole idea behind civilization, was that there were rules and laws and all of that. In fact, the United States, which models itself, which of course doesn't exist anymore, models itself on this idea of democracy and freedom. They say we are a nation of laws. So the understanding is that laws are what protect you, because without them, people will harm others. So you only need rules if you're going to be hurtful. It's the only time you need rules. So any of you listening to me, if this bothers you, which I understand, if you're wanting to write a comment and say, yeah, but if we don't have any rules, then nothing will happen and nobody will be safe and we have to have safe, it means that your assumption is that you're not safe. And so I want to bring that to your attention. If I'm talking about a place where there's no rules, there's no laws, and if your first thought, understandably, is that you won't feel safe, that is indicative of a mindset that you have to be willing to let go of. Because you don't need rules, you don't need laws in a place where you're completely, totally loved. There are no laws of physics. In the world that I'm creating, there's going to be surfing, of course. And of course, I have in my mind's eye what the color of the water looks like, which is very interesting. And the spray that comes off it, of course, there will be rainbow sparkles everywhere. But the ocean itself, the waves are going to have consciousness. So it won't be just a mindless wave that comes in. It'll be a relationship. There will be a conscious being in that water that will move with me, and we can create some kind of a dance or something. That's against the laws of physics here. That doesn't work here. Although there are times I've gone out there and I've closed my eyes and I imagine what I want and it shows up. But in 5D there are no laws of physics. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to experience, create that. The only thing that if this would go up with only higher frequencies exist, but only that which gives you joy. In 5D, you don't have to have responsibilities in the way we do here. We have to be responsible. We have to do things we don't like. We have to sacrifice in order for the greater good. But in 5D, everybody will be so connected to themselves and to each other that there won't be any need to force yourself to be responsible for your kids, for other people. You will intuitively, and not in a codependent way. Again, I was listening to somebody talk the other day, and they were talking about a relationship that fell apart, a friendship. And they were talking about this other person and how they had to cut off contact from this person. And they went into this explanation of, well, they had this let's just call it a drink. They had this drink, and I wanted some. And so I asked, can I have a sip of that? And the person said, no, I only have enough for me. And so the person I'm talking about got their feelings hurt. And then they started saying to themselves, to justify it, they said, I give to this person all the time. I always, when somebody comes over to my house, I cook them food, I give them things. I'm constantly giving this person something. And when I wanted something, I didn't get it. And then they told on themselves and they said, I believe in reciprocity. And so I assume if I'm going to give you stuff that you're going to give stuff back to me. And I didn't say anything because they didn't ask, but my observation was that there was nothing that they're doing that is a free gift. That every time they cook food or do something for somebody else, there's a string attached to it. And so then they say that they're tired. It tires them out. That people and relationships tire them out. And I thought to myself, of course, because you're constantly giving things away that cost you. You're not doing it for free. And you're demanding in your mind that they give back. And whenever they don't give back to you what you selfishly want, you feel drained. Well, that is something outside of joy. So when you're giving because you want to get, there's no joy there. I give stuff away all the time and I don't even think about it. I'm not doing this to brag. It's just, if I don't want to give somebody something, I don't give it to them. And, I love surfboards, and I usually have more surfboards than I can use. And when I get to that point, even if there's a surfboard I really love, I will look for somebody I can give it to before I sell it. I'd rather give it to somebody who will use it and enjoy it. And I do it all the time, and lots of times people, will take the surfboard. Sometimes they'll offer me money, and I'm like, I don't want any. I just want it to go to somebody who's going to use it. It's just sitting in my house and nobody's using it. And but the thought is, I enjoy the thought of them enjoying this really cool thing, this really cool surfboard that if you love to surf, you're going to love it. But if they turn around and they sell it the next day, if they nail it to their wall, if they throw it in their backyard, if they never use it, it wouldn't bother me. If they came to me the next day and said, yeah, I turned around and sold it, I would say, good for you. I hope you got some money for it. It wouldn't hurt me at all because it's a free gift. I enjoy the idea of giving that to somebody and not for any reason of getting anything. It just makes me happy. And the point is that in the fifth dimension, everything will be about what makes you happy. And the great thing is that what makes you happy is going to make other people happy, and vice versa. You'll get joy out of them being happy, and they'll get joy out of you being happy. You'll never have to talk about, I gave you this, you have to give me that. Only that which gives you joy. You must decide what 5D is. This is what the light beings keep telling me over and over again. Every time I ask them, they tell me, don't ask me, this is your world. You're creating it. So you decide. You must decide what this is. Otherwise, here's the downside of that. If you don't make the decision based, and again, it should be out of your fantasy, what makes you happy. You decide based on not what makes you safe, but what makes you happy. I want to say something that will probably be clear when this comes about. But if you're worried about safety, let me just tell you, you don't have to worry about that. There are beings, both here on Earth and in other places, whose focus will be on creating a protective boundary around the fifth dimensional Earth. There are beings who will make sure that nothing harmful will get in. So if you go through that, all this freedom makes you frightened because you'll be vulnerable, don't worry. There are beings that will protect you. And there are some of you I'm talking to, you will be one of those beings. If you're somebody who likes the idea of being a nurturing, protecting individual, you may be called upon to be somebody who creates a protective boundary around the new Earth. So we've got nothing to worry about. And if you choose to decide that there's a world where there's literally nothing to be afraid of, and that there's everything is loving and nurturing and taking care of you, that's what you'll create. The multiverse will adjust itself to your fantasy. Again, that's why I picked this picture. This guy is sending his intention out to create. He's creating a new Earth. That's what you get to do. Whoops. So you can create your own planet, and the last 5D will appear when you decide. There's different ways of looking at things, and having experienced multiple dimensions and multiple timelines, things don't work the way we think they do here in three-dimensional time. For instance, higher dimensional beings, the reason that they know what's coming for us is because they're not stuck in three-dimensional linear time. However, the reality that they see, which is our future, might be a little bit different than what it actually turns out to be. And that's because of our ability to intend reality. So our experience is going to be, for a lot of people, when this shift comes, if it's going to be an event, a lot of people's experience is going to be that it happened to them. That one day they were just walking along and boom, they got hit with this energy and the earth shifted. And I'm not going to say that's not true, because the reality is the multiverse is an experience. And so I can't say somebody's experience is wrong. But it's also a possibility that what's happening is that we are continuously making and sending out different intentions on an unconscious level, and then we just consciously experience it. So again, my ideas of this is shifting. A while back, if you watch some of the other videos from a while ago, I was like really, if we don't get it together, we're not going to make it to 5D, and we're going to go to a lower version. And you could hear in what I was saying that there was a lot of fear in there. And it's not that anything I said is untrue. I still believe that that's true. But I wasn't willing to accept the idea that, the shift will change us and change our perception. And this most recent awakening that I had, if I look back on it, as I said, I think it's because the energy got to a point where I shifted. And at the same time, it is also true that I shifted because I intended to shift. And I've been intending to shift. So it's just, I think it's a much more proactive way to, experience the happiness you want to have, which is just you decide to shift. And going into it that if I'm going to create the shift, I have to be willing to look at the things that I'm attached to, and I have to be willing to grow. And then what ends up happening when you do that is your surroundings starts to shift. And another way to look at it, which I absolutely believe is true, is that, again, the third dimension is a projection. We experience it as we are walking through this, this three-dimensional existence, and we're walking through time. And that's not what's happening. So we have this experience that the next moment already exists, and we just sort of walk into it. Like, this bottle is going to be here in another 5 seconds. But the truth is, it doesn't exist 5 seconds from now. This bottle is created because I intend it to exist. If I truly, truly, on every level of my existence, decided that this bottle didn't exist, it would disappear. Everything in your reality is manifested in one nanosecond after another because you continue to manifest it. You intend it. You're not aware that you're doing it. So when we create this new world, we are consciously intending to create it. And it is being created. And at some point, we will have the experience of it manifesting. And that may very well be an instantaneous event where our 3D projected experiences, oh my God, the sky just opened up and I got filled with this energy and everything shifted and I got transported to another dimension. But I believe that it's because we are intending it. And so the more proactive you are about it, the faster it will come. And the more proactive you are about it, the more people will begin waking up, because we are affected by everybody else. And when it gets to a certain threshold, when there's a certain percentage, and it could be some as little as 1%, when there's a certain percentage of people that awaken to this and intend that reality, then the whole human race will begin waking up. This is, I believe, where we're headed. I'm happy if that happens overnight. My instinct is telling me that more than likely things are going to start popping, and things are going to be revealed that are going to be very challenging for the average person. They're going to have to let go of their understanding of the third dimension. It's going to be very painful for a lot of people and very frightening. So those of us who we could qualify as starseeds, the more work we do to start achieving our own 5D reality, the more available we're going to be to help those that are going to need us. So one last thing I'll say is this, again, use the word starseeds. Those of us who are, I've got this tiny channel, almost nobody knows about it. I don't know why I don't have millions of subscribers, but the reality is that the average person just isn't on my wavelength. They're just not ready for this. So they either won't find it, or they won't understand it, or won't like it. But people like me, when this shift happens, everything's going to flip on its head. And the people they're going to start looking for are going to be the starseeds, the people who are doing the work, people who have been doing the practices and been creating this new reality. They're going to be the experts, And so that one phrase from the New Testament, the last shall be first and the first shall be last. I don't like the New Testament, but that I think is going to be the case. Those who are on the bottom, the meek shall inherit the earth. I believe that's coming. All right, so I'm done babbling. Again, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, like, and comment. I do believe that this channel has been shadow banned, and it's one of the reasons I don't get as many views as I think I should or I'd like to have. And so I need your help. Subscribe, like, comment, share this channel with others. Go to the free playlist page if you're new. Click on Mao Shan Qigong, Interdimensional Meditation, and 12 Steps to 5D. Those are 3 separate free playlists. Begin doing those exercises if you want to transform. While you're doing that, subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong at the website thunderwizard.com. You can unsubscribe whenever you want, and more stuff is going to be uploaded to that. Excuse me. All right, so I'll now take a look and see if there's any questions or any comments that I want to take a look at here. Thunder says hello. Hi there. Some nice comments there. Somebody wants my real natural face for the logo. Well, I can understand that. Listen, if you want to be my private photographer, by all means, I will be more than happy to let you take all the photos of me you want. But until then, I am going to use what is most available and most convenient for me. But I appreciate the feedback. Okay, what is this? Let's see. Before I even read it, I'm going to decide if I want to even interact with this. All right, I'm not going to respond to that. You know who you are. You asked me a personal question about why I do this live stream, and this question really isn't about me, it's about you. So I encourage you to look inward and ask yourself, why would you bother asking such a question? Let's see what else. Somebody agreeing with me there. Chien has a question. Can I do Awakening the Immortals Qigong as much as I want, or is there a limit? You can do it as much as you want. Also, when is the best time to practice? I currently do it every morning. Well, first, follow your own instinct, whatever works best for you. That is a Mao Shan practice, and the Mao Shan energy tends to work best at night. tends to be the most powerful at, starting in the afternoon and going into the night. Let me explain to you why that is. So when the sun is shining on the earth, it creates a stronger electromagnetic shield. Have you ever noticed that ghosts show up at night? Usually, they don't show up during the day. Well, that's because ghosts are part of the ethers. They're part of the non-physical realm. So they don't have as much power during the day because the sunlight creates a stronger electromagnetic field, which is like a veil between us and the spirit realm. And this is also true if you want to do CE5 or interdimensional meditation. If you want to connect to light beings, my experience is it works better in the afternoon, sunset, and at night. This is why, by the way, why traditionally people meditate at 3:30 in the morning. So a lot of traditional yogis and people like that will get up, before dawn and meditate, because that is when the electromagnetic field is at its weakest. And what ends up happening is you have a much powerful connection to other dimensions. So the Awakening the Immortals, it does exactly that. It summons the immortals, which means it connects, it creates an interdimensional portal. And you can try this out. If you ever get like a walkie-talkie or a handheld ham radio, and if you have the intention that you want the higher dimensional beings to let you know that they are around, just do the Awakening the Immortals and turn it on and just leave it. And this has happened to numerous people, but you'll find that the radio will start making noises. But that's only if you're open to it. They're not trying to scare you. If you're not open to it, it won't happen. Lots of times when I'm doing live stream meditations, and if I have the light on here, when I get to it, the light bulb will be flickering on and off. And that's the higher dimensional beings letting us know that they have seen it and they appreciate it, all that kind of stuff. So that all has to do with the electromagnetic field. That's it. No more questions. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate your time. And I'm trying to do a big overhaul for the channel. So hopefully it'll get more. We'll be able to help more people, reach more people. Let's see, did something happen? No. Okay. So as always, by the way, what was the last thing? Oh, 923.thunderwizard.com. So if you want to have access to the most powerful spiritual practice, I believe, that's ever been downloaded, go here to 923.thunderwizard.com, specifically the Mao-Shan practices, the Mao-Shan 5-element moving forms. Nothing more powerful. If you want to have access to energy that will shift your DNA, shift the vibration of everything, and open up portals to other dimensions, that practice is the most powerful. I also recommend that you read my books. If you really want to understand what is happening, go to my books, which you can find at michaelwilliamdenny.com. And Amazon, Kindle, or Audible. The most important book is The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. So look for that and read that. Having said that, my friends, thank you so much for showing up. I love you and appreciate all of you for being here and for taking this journey. I am especially grateful to every single person who does anything and everything for their own enlightenment, for their own empowerment. Those of you who are doing the practices, both the free practices and the subscription practices, every time that you do that practice, I get empowered. You help heal me. And all of the gods, all of the light beings are grateful to you every time you do something to help your own awakening, your own empowerment. And so I'm thankful to you for that as well. So, as always, if the flash don't come and or I don't get beamed up to the Starship Enterprise and or I don't shift out of the third dimension altogether, I will see you all very soon. Please take extremely good care of yourselves.